Hello. Hey everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Thanks for joining us today. It means a lot to us. For those who are seeing me here for the first time, I'm Anshumaan, one of the organizer of Bucktrons 2.0. Welcome again to the yet another session of Bucktrons that is powered by Prep Insta, streaming partner StreamYard, and brought to you by DevStrons and Learn with Community. So, Bucktrons is an initiative by DevStrons. It began with a mindset of encouraging community folks and make them aware of the edtech industry by putting emphasis on problem solving, code efficiency, code optimization, and logic-based programming. We empower coders to get influence by developing software, enhancing skills, solving bugs, and producing numerous opportunities via tech. If you haven't, if you like, so sorry. Uh, so we are already done with our first round, and this is our second day of the round two, and we elected already 20 folks from the round one, and all the best to the folks who are actively contributing to the community, actively participating in Bucktrons, and so today's topic is revolves around acing, how to ace JavaScript interview. So let us introduce today's speaker. She is front-end engineer in Rexorpay, AWS community builder. So hi, Smiley.
Hey, hi. How are you? I'm not sure why, there is a circle around my image. Loading.
Yeah, I guess it's visible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So, how are you?
yeah. So I'm really fine. So what we're gonna cover up in today's interview experience, and yeah, can you please brief in a short?
Yes, so what we're going to do today is generally JS interviews are one things that are, the first stepping stones when we apply into any front end roles because that are used for tech screening. And 90% of the folks who apply, they get out with this round itself. And the rest all, henceforth are easy ones. So how you can ace it up? What are the things interviewers generally asked? That's what I'm going to cover today.
That's really awesome. Even I'm the one who opt for front end interview, and I guess I will take a lot from this session. I mean, I'm one of the JavaScript developer, and I'm currently developing some of the new things like have you? I guess you already know about Chirpy that is
Yeah.
in Twitter. Yeah, so I'm developing one thing about Git Orbit that will be revolves around GitHub. So yeah. So yeah, so as you are already working in Razorpay, so what is your experience about Razorpay working as a front end engineer? Yeah,
So then there's a way work into that fancy widget team, right? The checkout widget which we see every time we interact. So it's my generally day resolves around, looking things into production. And these days I'm working with a Razorpay team to build a MVP that will help like, the small and medium sized merchants. So overall, it's like very challenging and very fun. Every day, I get to solve into a lot of real world problems.
that's really awesome. Like even you have been up. So is this process will be going to be happen on GitHub or any other version controller platform?
Which one process?
By developing any of the software solving bugs or
So we prefer GitHub only for the on this. Like we have internal built-in tool called Spinnaker, and we use that also for development purpose and this deployment purpose. And we use GitHub with GitHub Actions.
that's really nice. Even GitHub is one of the sponsors here, so
Mm.
it's always GitHub for the win. So yeah, I have a few more questions on with so many frameworks and while working with so many frameworks and libraries uh, coming in JavaScript, should we try to know most of them to ace in the interviews and increase our chance in any recruitment process?
No, it's not like the case. See, whenever we are applying for an interview, right, we'll see the tech stack that is required. it's generally mentioned on the what we call job description whether we want a Angular candidate, a React candidate, or a Svelte candidate. So whatever language it's written on the JD, that's enough. Mostly in machine code rounds, they ask the same particular language itself. So yeah, not many frameworks are required. Only having a good grasp on only one or two, that's more than enough.
Okay, that's really nice. Like other folks don't need to read a lot of languages or a lot of frameworks at the same time. They just stick to the one that is eligibility criteria for their job.
Correct.
Uh, cool. So the another question is like what are the tech stack you are preferring for the JavaScript? Like the follow-up question for this. What are the frameworks you are preferring for coding in JavaScript?
Coding in JavaScript, so I prefer React. And in work
React.
these days I'm using Svelte, like because of the performance issue. You want the same experience of checkout to have for 2G users than 5G users. So Svelte and React.
Sweat and React. Okay, nice. And I have another question. We see that with the addition of so many frameworks in JS, should we focus on newer ones or learn the previous ones? Still, I see many companies using Angular or any other frameworks. So, yeah,
See, one thing I'll tell you here is I have worked with Vue, I have worked with Angular, I have worked with Next and React and Svelte. I have worked with like five frameworks. Whenever you will work with one particular framework, you will, get one feeling, okay, this is the framework I am interested in. So it's like explore different frameworks, whichever, you feel like working on, that is something you should pick it up. Like I know cases like me, I don't like what we call working with Vue or Angular. I prefer working with React. So once you make some projects, you will understand, right? What is your interest? Where is your interest lies in?
cool. Obviously, like we should always prefer the whatever like whatever what all the things we are perfect on. So that's
Correct.
really awesome insight. And yeah, again, the question I having like, should I always apply to the jobs, those technologies related to GS, that is already known to me? Because many times I face difficulty in solving their assignments based on the frameworks I don't know.
Correct. One thing is that see, whichever framework we are comfortable in, that is the only framework we should apply the job for. Because at the end of the day, we have to develop tons of code there. So it's good for us to have, a preference.
That's really awesome. And the follow-up question is like a person having a project or work experience on the same framework that company used. So gives him extra chances to select for the interview. So is it the extra chances for the select for the interview that he or she will be having?
Yes, see, whenever any company shortlists the CVs, they have generally have a score point. Okay, the skills they have that is computed either manually or by using any software. So if you will have a relevant experience, so your scores for getting shortlisted would be more, and then you will get up in the CVs, and then means it will be beneficial for you.
Well, we have some questions from the audience as well. Like Joshi is asking, what do you think are the common mistake that may go unnoticed by the candidate who work with GS?
Common mistakes that may go unnoticed. One common mistake is that running behind a lot of frameworks. So generally, this is one of the common mistakes. Like now, Remix is coming up, like a new edition on React, and the next years people are running behind this. right? Or people are jumping into frameworks as soon as new versions comes. So that is the most common mistake. You are okay for 1 or 2 years, but in the long run, it will hamper on this. So this is the common mistake.
Even I guess I am the one from that. Like I created one project in Vue.js and Vue.js CLI, and then again I created like again I switched to the React.js, and now I'm preferring Next.js. So I'm the switcher.
Same, this is the common mistake.
Yeah, this is my takeaway. So here's the question of Akshat Nima. What is your approach on learning new frameworks or libraries? Like, how do you prefer to learn that new frameworks?
An approach. It's been long time. I have learned a new library. I'm working from many years on React. So the approach is same. Going through the documentation. The official documentation is the whole source of truth, and reading about new and interesting blogs written on either dev to or hash node. So that are my approaches to learn a new framework or library. And once I'm good with some concepts, making a lot of projects out of it, because projects is the only way which we are able to assess us whether what you call are we qualified or not. So yeah, and making projects, not seeing the tutorial. So that is where we actually find it out where we lack. So that's my approach.
Yeah, being realistic, being stick to the projects we are having real doubts,
Yeah.
and I guess more version the developer is asking like, what is your opinion on solid.js?
No opinions. I have not explored solid.js. I am a coder. Means I am a one person which don't jumps to different frameworks. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah, we have few questions from Akshat Nima as well. Like, is DSA questions are also asked while giving JavaScript or development-based interviews?
Okay, so the simple question here with DSC questions asked or not, it wholly solely depends upon the company which you are applying. Some companies do ask, but some companies don't. In general, for a JS interview, no DS is not asked. So they ask problem solving questions, but they are not like following complex data structures like trees and maybe stacks, queues. Their questions will be simple, following maybe using arrays, objects, and something nesting of objects. So they will be based upon JS related things only, which you will do in daily lives.
I hope Akshat that makes sense. I guess Akshat has a few more questions on this. What are the good questions any interviewer can ask regarding JavaScript or frameworks? Mostly the tricky ones you are facing or you faced in your interviews.
Okay, so good questions an interviewer can ask regarding JS or frameworks. So generally they ask, I'll be on very honest here. The interviewer generally asks the question that are, assessing your basics. What happens is that we know a lot of complex things, but we don't, really care about the basics. So the trick questions comes from the most fundamental basics. So if I have to give examples, sometimes I have interviewed a lot of candidates for Rexorpay. So like a lot of people get stuck in the questions with set timeout. A lot of people get stuck. There is a type of questions called composition questions. People get stuck with that. Then these are some of the trick questions. They just get stuck in the very basics. So yeah, that's what.
Cool. Yeah, even I have been opt for one of the company interview. I can't able to take that name, but they are asking few question as what is local storage, what is web storage, and I I just defended questions in a way like in a way like jalebi. But yeah,
Yeah, that is the basics. No, how we'll
yeah,
store the web storage, everything like all the tabs which we see in inspect, session storage, cookies. They are good questions. Like again, the basics. That's what everyone picks up.
Yeah. So I guess Joshit have one question as many companies are making a transition from one tech stack to other. How much does that impact our chances on being recruited?
Um, if they're making a transition to one stack or the other stack, I guess it should not impact the recruitment chances because again they will be having a different GD. So yeah, it will not have much impact. And 90% of the time, not many companies do transition from one stack to other stack because they have already written some working code in that, and why will they take efforts to migrate it? So yeah, it will not impact much. So if you are already selected and already part of that company, then when their company is migrating to some other stack, they gives ample amount of time to learn and upskill. So it will not impact in any cases.
Cool. Yeah, obviously. I guess here is one more question from Akshit, and he's really curious about your journey. And can you describe your journey, how you is to the Razorpay, and Razorpay is somewhat difficult to crack also. Do they have asked development based questions?
If in one word I have to tell you, Razorpay, so interview process is not that hard. I myself take screening rounds for Razorpay. So they are very simple, what we call hiring process. The only thing is that your basics should be clear. So if the basics is right, then it's done. Generally, they have 4 rounds for any normal person who applies. One is this tech screening round, then they have a machine code round where you have to solve some, and daily life problems. They'll give you a challenge to make, and then there is a technical discussion round. So they ask their, general development based questions. If you are a front end developer, you do things, whatever to you, the things you do on your daily basis, they will only ask those. Nothing except like any word. I'll give you one example. Say I told I know how to add GitHub Actions to a project. Then they will ask questions on GitHub Actions. So 90% of the reserve interviews go in this fashion. The keywords you will tell, they will revolve around that only. So yeah. Can you describe your journey, how you raised to recipe? Again, it was nothing. I got lucky. My CV got shortlisted. They have a score system. Whatever things are required, so they computerized calculate score. Like whichever CV have the good score, they are seen by tech leads, and they every week they have different person who shortlists their interviews, and rest it was just a cakewalk. If your basics are right, it's not tricky one.
Okay, cool. So I really want to, like I'm curious about your journey. What was your journey like? How is it like? Is it good, or is it bit nervous thing, or what?
So if I have to tell the honest version of my journey, so I have applied in Razorpay like back in 2020, and in Decemberish, I then there was on opening types open, and that time I was not even qualified. Like I was not a graduate. So last to last year they did not had any internship sort of things. Okay, so they were just rolling out full time offers. So I did not fall into that category, and I waited for like 5 6 months till the time I was eligible to fall into UI1 category. And then I even forgot that I've applied to Razorpay. If in May they reached out to me, if you're still looking to get into Razorpay, just reply us with with yes on this email, and we'll send you some hiring challenge sort of thing. So that was a hacker test. Again, one test with which was comprised of questions, JS questions, and JS in MCQs also. So three questions and 18 or 16 MCQs. So I wrote the test. Then I got into tech screening round. Then there was no machine code round for me because I applied for a fresher position. Then there was a technical round, and yeah, then there was a HR round, that hiring manager round. So yeah, that happened. To be honest, I was not even sure if I'll apply to Razorpay. I was not what you call 100% into full mode. I want to give Razorpay interview. Like I got rejected. I got rejected from one of the companies before I, gave the first round of a Razorpay interview. So yeah, it happened. All of a sudden, I say,
Okay, so basically, it's a beautiful but a bit nervous as well. So,
yeah.
yes,
One thing I've learned with my experiences on by taking interviews is if you will be nervous in the interviews, no, your brain will not function 100%ly. So just sit back and think, देखा जाएगा अगर रिजेक्शन मिल जाएगा. So yeah, doesn't care about rejection. Just give it, just like you're answering some of the questions asked by your friend. And yeah, that's all. At the end of the day, interviewer also helps you. They are investing their time to hire you, not to reject you. They will try to give you ample offense. Like generally, by asking a follow up question, that will be actually a hint. So catch the hint, and you're good to go.
yeah, uh, life points here, like some of the lifestyle points here now. Uh, so rejection, who cares about rejection, right? Like
Correct.
it's all about learning. Hi, Gulam. Do you want to take some questions from the folks? Like Dhruv has some questions. Like someone want to up their skill in JS, what they can do. I guess this session is all about JavaScript, and you can take more as you can. Yeah, but if Ismail has some points here.
See, one of the best ways you can upskill on JS is practice. How practice make a lot of projects instead of jumping directly into a framework, making project in a framework. Say, can you make a e-commerce app in JavaScript without using a framework? Right? Using a framework, it's a easy, not a easy one, but it's relatively easy than creating that into Core.js. If you can make it, so make projects in Core JavaScript, and then that is one way to practice. A lot of good ways, like you will manipulate DOM a lot, and then you will call the Ajax request or any API request on the JS file itself, and then you will pass that via DOM to the HTML elements. That is quite tricky one. That is one way you can skill up.
Cool. Nice answer. Uh,
Also,
yeah,
also
Gulam. Take this.
Yeah, Akshat has one question from making a transition from PHP to Node.js. How much difficulty one faces, like because they work in backend perspective, but they are much different in language.
yeah, I did not have worked on PHP, so I can't comment on transitioning from PHP to a Node.js. But one thing is that the language essentials remains the same. It's just about difference in this how we write the code. Syntax wise, it will be difficult, but logic wise, it would be the same. So it would be not much difficulty. But rest, I can't comment on it. I have never worked on PHP.
Okay, so I have one question, one follow-up question, and it is on hiring. Like, right, if you get an offer from a startup which work on like some tech stack like Vue.js and all, and you are mastered in, for say, React, right? So should you go for Vue.js? Should you go for that offer? and learn Vue.js instead of React?
See, one thing is that this is my perspective, or I've heard from a lot of people also. If you're starting up and the offer is really good and you don't have any, means you're actively looking for a job, right? And you are actually interested to okay explore Vue also, then you can and you should take it up if only if there is a lot of good learning. So that is you can take it up. See, one more thing is that if you're just starting your career and you have never explored Vue.js, then you should definitely. You who never knows your interest will be equally developed for Vue.js. Like if I'll tell you, I have done the same before transitioning to React. I was an Angular developer. I did one of my internships in Angular. So when I was looking for one full year internship, so I got into one company and I cleared all the rounds. I make that machine that own take home challenge again in Angular. Then what happened? I got into and the required and requiredness was for this React. Okay, then they asked me, do you want to, if you can learn React on your own, then you can work on that. Like, we'll give you 1 month to upskill on React. And I took a chance. I was not rigid. Okay, I wanted a job in Angular only. I was getting a good, decent offer, and I took it up. And trust me, from that day, I don't want to go back to React, this Angular. I'm so in love with React. So it's all about developing interest. You should take the challenge if you
Same
want.
for me.
Yeah, you should. Means if you don't have any prior experience with it, any prior hatredness or disinterest, then you should.
Okay, so what do you think about Next.js? Will it be in the position where React is right now? Like Next.js bringing in so many functionalities like server-side rendering and some other functionalities, which is really awesome and has some upper hand in web development and stuff. So what do you think about
See,
that?
nobody will be able to replace React. That's for sure. One big reason is it's backed up by Facebook. Facebook is maintaining it, and see, next have their own things. Though it have like server side rendering, then SEO support explicitly only. Who it depends upon the use case also. No, there will be pages or web apps which will never require that kind of SEO or that kind of server side things. So it will never replace. That's for sure.
Okay, so and uh, React has so build up community, like there are so many people who do React, and if you get into any questions, people you can just ask into React.
Correct.
Uh, there are so many professionals who can help you at that spot. So yeah, that
Yeah,
is the plus
community
point for
support
React.
for React is amazing.
Yeah, the
Like a lot of companies who had their code in Angular, they are slowly transitioning to React also, just for the community support.
so uh, Akshat has one more question over here. For specifically preparing for some development based interview, can you suggest some website to prepare for these websites? Usually we get resources only DSA ones.
Okay,
So
see, if you are preparing, so I'm talking about, I assume you're talking about, JS based interviews. There are a lot of topics. One is that, see, go by topic. Like we have variables, then we have functions, we have ifs, then what we have, this loops. Try practicing all the topics chunk by chunk. There is no resource where you will find a lot of preparation questions, but on the other hand you will get individual resources. If you have a list of resources, list of topics which you have to prepare, you can always go to this JavaScript info. There you will find a lot of explanation about the topic, and then search okay practice questions on that topic. One basic, one thing I used to do while practicing, we generally have the C++ questions, right? You can always try solving that same questions using JS. They will be tricky. Like, you can always this practice this what we call arrays and strings based questions of normal DSA. That's what they are generally asked in a JS interview. So that's how you can prepare.
He has one more follow-up question. GS is really handy when it comes to Web 2, but is it equally handy when it comes to starting with Web 3?
Again, I have not explored on Web3, so no comments on this one.
Okay. So I have one more question. If you are giving a React interview, right? So it does it matter that a one person who is giving interview uh, expect me to know about the tools which works under the hood in React, like Babel, like Webpack, like other stuffs. So
Okay, so knowing about Babel, knowing about how Webpack works, that's plus one. Again, it depends upon the the job role which we are applying. If we are applying for a fresher role, right? So not a depth of Babel and Webpack is required. Just like, okay, what is Babel, what is Webpack, what they do, how they do the bundling, that much knowledge is enough, right? If you're applying for a senior roles, then yes, you should know under the road things.
okay, so yeah. So what do you think? What is the best bundlers and tools out there, right? The Next.js uses Rust out of the box
Right.
in their building and all, and React uses Webpack. So what is the best in your perspective? What one should be using?
Babel and Webpack are enough. Means I have means personalized in what you call liking for Babel and this Webpack. So yeah, even Webpack. If we see communities more than Rust. So again, because of the community, if you will get into any doubts, it will get solved very easily. So again, Babel and Webpack.
Okay, and Arvind has one more question. One question over here. Why are developers so bad at UI design? How can one developer eye or for designing?
Okay. See, there is a job role for UI design separately, and generally, the developers' work is to develop things they are used to, and they did not have read about how color schemes work, which font will attract, whichever. Because anyways, that UI designer would have also done some of the learnings, some of the practice. That's the reason why developers are bad at UI design. How can they develop an eye for designing? One simple thing is that, yeah, when I wanted to learn designing, you look into this, what you call, just randomly open Dribble, see the designs, right? Open Behance, see the designs. That's what designers do when they're free and for leisure time. Like generally, we see on Twitter some of the code snippets. They do that. So that's how they, develop an eye for designing. See the designs, and at the end of the day, okay, you will understand. Oh yeah, all good designs use generally one or two primary colors and not more than that, and they use what we call some of the supporting colors, and how this looks a lot pleasing to eyes than using five or six primary colors and not having consistent fonts. So looking onto different designs, we'll be able to understand, hi, this is nice. So yeah, that is how you can develop eye for designing.
Yeah, one more thing, that developer work is to develop things. Like the
Correct.
work of designing is for UI designers, and they have specifically chosen for work on that. So our work is just for development. We don't have to think of UI and all.
Right.
It's the matter of yeah. So Anjali has one more question. One question over here. Are machine coding rounds always in JS, no framework?
नहीं, machine coding don't always have a framework. It can happen in JS also, but it can happen. Generally, it happens with the framework. So this JS rounds are generally text screening rounds, and means yeah, machine coding rounds are generally in a framework in which the company is working on. And some companies, if they want, your skills, how you can manipulate the DOM, how you can manipulate, call the API in JS, and then how you can again show it on the web page. Then only they will have rounds in using JS. 90% they have in framework only.
Yeah. So I have one more. I have one question. Like, uh, if you want to add one project in your resume, so what technologies you should use in your project? What all things that you should use that could be uh, uh, eye-catching for HR, and it could be shortlisting your resume.
Okay. See, if I have to give you one example of one project which you should, add it in your resume. See, it doesn't matter whatever project you develop, but your project should be always a full stack one. Because, see, if you're developing, I'm just giving you one example. Say, we are building a e-commerce app, right? Now, uh, just having what we call all the cards visible for say clothing, right, or all the products, that will not make sense until or unless they will have any actions. Maybe a action where we can add the things to the cart, right, where we can actually what we call proceed with the order. We can always integrate a dummy big payment gateway in our apps, right, application which is full stack, um, the application which will fetch all the records which will show in our e-commerce app from backend. It should talk to the backend. It should send some request to the backend and fetch the data accordingly. Means it should have all the four CRUD functionality. And then, yeah, and in a project where you would have spent more than 40 hours, 40 45 hours, then it you should consider that as a good project. One project with which, we'll share one production link, like it's deployed on this website, this URL. It will have a GitHub what do you call it, a GitHub repo setup with a proper readme file, right? And if we are using any backend for it, again one separate repo for backend, and always we can host a what we call API documentation. So like these ways you can impress the HR. See, to be honest, idea of the app is one thing, and but how you make that idea, that is the other thing. Like remember, idea, there is not no idea which is unique, that's for sure. like like Zoom also, Jio also made the clone of Zoom, right, one day back in past. If the big company like that, they can do that, then why not us? So idea doesn't matter if your idea is really great. Like I'll give you one example where idea works. Again, this case happened in a Razorpay. One of there was a guy. He did not even completed his college. Okay, he did not went to college. After his 12th, he made one project. He made a payment gateway. Again, that is what do you call? He made exact same clone of Razorpay, and then he's saying to Razorpay folks, just randomly tagging Razorpay engineering. Oh, today see, I have made this, right, and that is again one way to attract attention. And without and then from here he got interview and he got selected, and he works in my team only. So again, this is how you pitch the idea. Again, he did not did any great idea, but same idea, same project concept, but his way how to pitch it, so that matters. That's how it attracts HRs.
Okay, so I have one more follow-up question. If you are applying for front-end part, right, front-end developer, so what is most what do you say matter the most for HR? The UI of the website, or just the back end, or the way of working of website?
If you're applying for a front end role, then UI matters the most because at the end of the day, the UI should be appealing. Backend is you can spin a backend using any no code ways like Amplify or maybe Firebase in an hour. But how it look wise, because that's the role of a UI developer, right? To make things great. Having uniformity across all the text fields in your project, having equal spacing in the buttons, and a clean way having using only one or two primary colors, then that's how the more the UI is appealing, that's what it will attract the HR. What they will do, see, the simple thing is that they are asking for a front end role. What they will do if a person is good at back end, the requirement is a front end, no? So impress the HR on the base of role you are applying.
Okay, so now comes the full stack role. Like, if you're applying for full stack, so how much technologies and how much experience you should have for that, right? You there are so many technologies, right? So should we know maximum of them, or just six, seven technologies are enough?
Six, seven technologies are also more than enough. Okay, one or two technologies, having a master in that, that's more than enough. See, if you're applying for a full stack role, always there would be one thing that is for sure. These full stack roles are generally sugar coated. In the JD, it will be written full stack, but in the title is full stack. But at one point of the time, it would be written. Will this role be front end heavy, or will this role be back end heavy? Generally, full stack roles are front end heavy because they are hiring a front end folk, a full stack folk, just to do means this is what I have seen. They are hiring a front end a full their front a full stack developer for a front end position. Why? If someday the backend guy is not available, this guy is, what, full stack. He knows how to look into backend and get the work done. So generally, it's just a sugar coated way of saying, okay, we want a front end engineer who knows backend also. That's for debugging purposes. So yeah, one or two. Nobody will even care about if you will have six, seven technologies. If your interest is confined for one technology, then stick to it. That's my thing.
Okay,
And that is what the industry requirement is.
so I think that for full stack role, GS hard part or the deep knowledge of JS is not required, right?
Nahin, nahin, nahin. Without JS, how will you clear anything, man? JS is required anywhere you go. So any role which involves front end, JS is like that, you know,
No.
what you call security guard. Uske bina you won't go ahead. So JS is required.
Okay, in the meantime, we have some questions. We have got some questions. Let me. What is the one thing I can start doing now that will help me in my career in future?
Okay, this is a very generic question. What is the one thing I can do right and start doing now that will help my career in future? Are you working on adding a lot of efforts, logging a lot of hours, doing coding? That is the only thing that will help in helping the career. Also, one more thing is that, see, sometimes we work hard on things that we don't get the appropriate result, right? We should not get always disheartened, and we should always stay motivated and continue adding our efforts. That is the one thing we should always do. That will always help in the career. And one more thing is that, See, if you have achieved today, you were aiming to get into a good startup, right? You were working so much hard to get into that startup. You got the job. You started working for that startup. Then you should not sit back and relax. We live in the tech world, right? Anybody can and everybody can replace us if we will not put our continuous efforts in learning outside our work. So that is one thing we should always remember while making a career that will be long visioned.
Okay, so we can take one last question over here of Renita. How can how one can master React.js if they are new to React.js? What was your approach which you followed? Also, how to start with projects if someone is new to this?
Okay, so how one can master React is by making a lot of projects, a lot of uses. See, I'll tell you my approach. What I did is that when I did not knew a lot of things to develop, then I always see tutorials, right? I tried making what you call same applications which tutorial guy showed, right? Then okay, from there I understood. Okay, this is how the syntax work, right? Then next I gave myself a challenge that I'll build 5 full stack projects using React.js. Okay, now the thing is that from where we will get the idea. We will get the idea. Like it's very difficult to find a lot of ideas, right? So take ideas like this. Make one social media ka clone. Make one a clone of what we call a booking app and things on those lines. Like 5 different varieties of projects. And one more thing is that don't once you are familiar with the syntax, stop using tutorial. Don't fall into this tutorial hell. If you will make one app on your own without seeing any tutorial, no, that will be far more better than making 10 or 15 apps seeing tutorial videos. Because when you make the app on your own, no, you will end up facing a lot of problems, right? So that is the approach you should follow. And with the passage of time, trust me, if you'll make 5 good projects, no, having said, make a project that should have minimum 40 hours you have spent on that project, and by the end you make 5 projects, you will master in React.
Yeah, even we have the next level confidence as well. So when we try out any of the project from our end, so it will obviously make a good efforts in that project and make our skills more sharp. Yeah,
Right.
thanks. Really, okay. Yeah. So yeah, here we ending our space right now. So do you want to any closure you do you have in your mind if anything would be?
Yes. So I have a few closing words to share. If you are ever applying for a JS type of interviews, there are certain things that are certain advices from my end that you can always follow. See, the first thing is that when you are preparing for an interview, you at least give yourself a month to prepare for that interview. It I know we can binge watch 10 videos, 20 videos, 30 videos in a week, and then we'll go for an interview. You can do that. But at the end of the day, you will give the interviewer an impression that you have mugged up the things and you are just vomiting it out during the interview. See, interviewers were at one time, they were also interviews. They are smart enough to find it out who is doing that. And if they, get even 1 single % of what you call a feeling, right? This guy is mugged up. They have mugged up the information. Just they are vomiting out. They'll directly reject you then and there. And even during the first 15 minutes, no, they will make up the mind. Okay, I'll give no eye to this guy because this guy is playing with me. And if you will do good in the next 45 minutes, also, no, the interviewer will know. So don't try to make the interviewer fool. And if you're looking into, JS interviews specifically, don't directly jump into solving JSK questions, interview questions. Start small. Start from how you can build up your concepts on problem solving. How you can do that. You can always solve, generally people don't ask any polyfill writing in interviews because polyfills are something, it is when you will search it in the first result, you will find what is the polyfill. But you can always write, say, polyfills of arrays, array methods, right? If you'll write it, trust me, they are not at all easy. You can always try by solving some pattern questions. Then try to solve a lot of mini questions. If you are applying for JS interviews, you can always, make a form validation kind of application on your own. It will help you building up a lot of your concepts. And trust me, cracking a UI JS interview is very simple because all they ask is same questions. They'll ask some things on hosting. They'll ask same things on set timeout. They will ask same things on closures. They will ask same things on sync await. They will ask promises. And apart from that, there are not much things they can ask because these are five, six major chunk of topics which any interviewer will ask, and they will the question check all the interview questions of this chase. They will revolve around on these things only. Just the question is different. If you know the basics, you will be able to understand n number of variations for these topics. So yeah, focusing on the basics is the one key.
Yeah, so this is the word from Smile, and yeah, it's really an informative, insightful session to everyone. I hope, and we are watching right now. 16 viewers we are having. So, kid, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.